Welcome on into the Wolverine.com podcast. Clayton Safey alongside Chris Ballas and Anthony Broom, who is got the shades on, looking good outside in Atlanta, which is where we're broadcasting this from. The three of us down in hot Atlanta. They got a hot Michigan club here in town ready to take on Auburn in the NCAA tournament, Sweet 16, South Regional semifinal. Winner plays either Michigan State or Ole Miss. At State Farm Arena this weekend. Michigan and Auburn, 9:39 p.m. on Friday night, the late game after the Michigan State Ole Miss game. We are brought to you today by the 2025 official Michigan Jordan Fly Elite football. You can get yours today at biggameusa.com/Wolverines. We'll talk about them a little bit later on in the show, but let's get into our vibe check as we did last week from Denver. We just saw a little bit of Michigan practice. They shot around, stretched a little bit, and then they went on to fully practice after we departed, and then spoke to Dusty May and Michigan players. I'll tell you what, guys, this team is loose but confident.
I've never seen better stretching, guys, than we did in that 15 minutes. I was blown away. Really makes me feel good about Michigan's chances. But in all seriousness, these guys look like they're playing with house money, right? They feel like they're being overlooked a little bit. They talk about the chip on their shoulder. And Bruce Pearl said it. He said, Michigan, in my opinion, is as capable as any team in this field. And I see it when they play well, right? 3 of the last 5 games, fellas, they've had less than 10 turnovers. And that was the one thing that they really needed to shore up. Now, the other two were 19 and 14, but the 14 came against a UCSD team that turns you over, 19 against Maryland, and they dominated on the glass to pull that one out. So, but it was fun being here. It's got that big event feel. And anytime you have that, guys, when it's the Sweet 16, it's special. So love Atlanta. We've walked by some pretty cool landmarks and walked through Centennial Park to get to the arena. Can't wait for tomorrow night, but we got some hoops tonight to watch, guys. We got Tigers opening day and a few hours here to drink a few before that all starts.
Yeah, I just want to say right off the bat, I mean, the vibes poolside over here are just they're absolutely immaculate.
Fountain side?
Mountainside.
Mountainside, yeah.
Yeah.
But we make do. We make do. That's what we do here. Um, yeah, I mean, you talk about a big game vibe. I don't want to say that you can like feel the tension in the air, but um, again, this is another one of those events where you look at the other side of the bracket. Michigan State's there, their media's here, their beat is here, and they're in the back of everyone's mind. Everyone kind of knows that there is at least a slight possibility. It's not even a slight possibility. It only takes 2 game results for Michigan and Michigan State to play for a trip to the Final Four, which is insane. And you can kind of feel that, and it is a tension. It does feel like a tension in the air. But of course, first task is Auburn. It's the toughest task of all. You know, we were sitting there writing, and as the Auburn players are doing their media session, Bruce Pearl's doing his media session. Those guys are extremely loose and confident too, and they should be. They're the top seed in the field, and they've won a lot of basketball games this year. So, you know, it's going to take Michigan's fastball to win this game. It's going to take an all hands on deck effort because Auburn, I think, does a little bit of everything better. Auburn is deeper. Auburn shoots the ball better. So to me, this is all hands on deck, and you get the sense. And again, it's, you know, we spoke to Michigan players in the locker room. We saw them stretch and shoot around just a little bit. You get the sense they're up for the challenge, and that's really all you can ask for at this point. And you know, we'll talk about the game here in a second, but if they find a way to stay in the fight for 40 minutes, you have to feel pretty good about that given what they've done, not just in the last 2 weekends, but all season long.
Yeah, 11 straight games, or 11 straight games that have been close. Michigan has come out on top in terms of the margin of victory being 6 or fewer. So if they're down the stretch, you know, Auburn has won a lot of games by double digits this year. That's a credit to how good they are, and speaks to how challenging it will be for Michigan to make it close at the end. They're 9.5-point underdogs heading into this one, but they're going to feel pretty good about their chances down the stretch. And Dusty May talks about it a lot, how, you know, if it is close, their guys just go to another level, whether it's Danny Wolf pulling down rebounds, you know, blocking shots, or Vlad Golden doing the same thing, or some of the other guys hitting shots like the way Trey Donaldson's playing in the clutch. Now you have to feel good about Michigan's chances, you know, to come out on top if it is close, but a big challenge. You look at, just as you said, Anthony, they do pretty much everything well. That's what you get when you face a number one overall seed. And so I guess let's talk about what we heard today from going inside the Michigan locker room, talking to the players. Dusty May held his press conference at the podium in front of the media. Best quote I heard was Vlad Golden saying that it's an advance and survive game. Sometimes you transcribe and you clean up the quotes a little bit. He's got the accent. He's got the he speaks fantastic English for the amount of time he's been here in America. But I just love that. He's the same guy always. The other guys, try to carry that on as well. But what did you guys hear today in some of the interviews that stood out to you heading into this game?
Yeah, there's always a lot of coach speak, and nobody wants to say what's really on their mind, right? Andrew Kahn from M Live tried to get the Michigan State players and the Michigan players to try to talk about a potential meeting in the Elite Eight. None of them were biting. They said, well, we got a game here first to worry about. And so they're all focused on that. But Trey Donaldson didn't really want to talk about his time at Auburn and said, hey, it's, yeah, I can help a little bit with some of the stuff. But when it comes down to it, it's a game where, there are some guys that, a lot of guys there that I didn't even play with. So I thought Danny Wolf was fantastic again. And he was talking about, Trey. And the first time he remembered the meeting between Yale and Auburn last year. And he was talking up at the podium about when he saw Trey and on film. And he said, this guy, he came in off the bench and he stood out. And he said, one of the SEC tournament games, he said, I think he had 19 points and he was fantastic. And when he found out that Dusty was recruiting him, he said, yeah, man, go get that kid. He's a warrior. I want to play with him. And then talking with Vlad Golden told us when we first got here, and it seems like yesterday, fellas, when he first got here and we were first interviewing these guys, he said, this team has, to me, is top level, can get to Final Four and make a run and everything else. And he said today, I just felt there was something about the chemistry of the group. He said, the talent was fantastic, but he really liked the chemistry of the team. And that kind of stood out to me. So, but yeah, they looked loose and confident, Clay, as you like to say, and relaxed and not just happy to be there, though. And as Dusty May said, we feel like we can beat anybody in the country. They're going to have to beat some damn good teams here if they want to get to the Final Four and beyond. But if they continue to play like they have, if they rebound like they have, and if they protect the ball like they have, then they're going to have a great shot. So, it's just fun to be here. I've covered so many of these now. And for so many years, guys, we were walking in the desert with this basketball program. My first, I think, 10, 12 years when I was with the Wolverine. They won the Big Ten tournament in 1998. And then after that, guys, it was slim pickings. You were just hoping to get one game in the Big Ten tournament. Now we're packing for 5 days at NCAA tournaments or 4 days. And there's nothing like it. I loved covering the Final Four, Michigan football and the championship game. But NCAA tournament, when you get to the Sweet 16, guys, is right up there with it.
Yeah, and this will be crazy to think. I've been doing this for a little over a decade now, and this will be my first NCAA tournament game. This game tomorrow night. So pretty good recent stretch of tournament style games. I was in Fort Myers when they won that event. Was at the Big Ten tournament for all 3 days. So I know nothing else than packing for as many days possible at the moment. But yeah, it's going to be, the one thing, and you look at some of the national discussion about this tournament last weekend is, there's no juice to it. There's no upsets. But the flip side of that is that you get a lot of great teams and a lot of great matchups here tonight, which I'm excited for. Obviously, tomorrow in Atlanta, we're going to have 2 great games to watch. And you just get the sense that this isn't like a Cinderella story for this Michigan team, because outside of 2 weeks, they've been winning close games. They've been winning tight games all season long. So for me, I just, you ask for a vibe check. You ask for, what do we learn from these guys? I think the best thing I can say about them is that from the first day that we met these guys at, Michigan Basketball Media Day till we talk to them now, the temperament's been the same. I think the work ethic's been the same. And the coaching has obviously been a constant from start to finish. So this is a confident group. And Bruce Pearl's right. Like, Michigan is really, we talked about this on our show the other day. Outside of the 1 seeds, they're the hottest team in college basketball right now. So I'm ready for a war. I'm expecting a war. And we'll see who winds up winning it when all's said and done. But these guys are not just happy to be here. They want to stay on this ride as long as they can.
They've beaten 5 damn good teams, fellas, in a row. Think about it. If you look at where they rank in KenPom and the things they do well, and they're beating them at their own games sometime. Maryland, they dominated on the glass. A&M turns you over, right? And they're supposed to be better offensive rebounders. Guess what? Michigan beat them at their own game. So Wisconsin couldn't shoot. They took away their game. So this is not a fluke. This is a great run. 2 of those games were pretty comfortable wins if you look at the scores, even though one kind of came down to the stretch there against Texas A&M. So I like the way they're playing. They're, again, house money, fellas. I can't wait till tomorrow night. It's going to be a long day tomorrow, guys, waiting for those games.
No doubt. And I asked Dusty May about just the mentality of kind of being an underdog, where it felt like there were times this year that the team played a little bit tight, and he even admitted at one point that they probably put too much into and too much focus and probably talked about it too much. Winning the Big Ten regular season championship, they didn't get it done. But as Charlie May, his son and Michigan's junior guard, told me in the locker room today as well, after that Michigan State game to end the regular season, they just kind of flipped a switch and realized that their goals were still in front of them and that they have a special group. And they understood that at this time of year, if you don't win, you don't have a team anymore. You move on to next year. Everyone goes their separate ways, and they don't want that to happen. So they want to keep this going after Friday. But Dusty said that there is probably something to them playing better when they're an underdog or have a chip on their shoulder. And it's just the way that they came up. He said none of us coaches were on the up-and-coming coaches list. None of the players were on the McDonald's All-American team. They all have come from different backgrounds. Vlad Golden was wrestling until he was a certain age. Then he took on basketball and then comes over to the United States and has had his heck of a journey. I mean, Danny Wolf was at Yale a year ago. Trey Donaldson was a backup on this Auburn team that we're going to see tomorrow night. So they have an edge to them. Even as Charlie May said, yeah, we were probably the favorite, which they were. I don't think they pay attention to the gambling odds as much as us, but we were probably the favorite against UC San Diego, but everyone was picking us to lose. And they've kind of rallied around that. So it'll be interesting to see. At the same time, you got to go out and execute, hit shots, defend tomorrow night. But I feel like this team, at least mentality-wise, has given themselves a chance to do that. Let's talk about the keys to victory tomorrow. But before we do, we got to talk about some football. The official Michigan Jordan Fly Elite football, which has just dropped for the first time ever. Jordan Braden's signature innovation, performance, and swagger are hitting the turf in the Big House. This is the official game ball of the Wolverines, and you will see it in action all season long. As Michigan builds on its championship legacy, the football is designed for precision, control, and game-changing performance. Here's what makes it special. Signature Maze, Jumpman, and Block M logos, iconic symbols of innovation and performance. Engineered to Michigan's quarterback specs, designed with input and guidance from the Wolverines coaches and players. Pebbled lace, a visible colored maze lace reinforcement flap, and overlay stripe technology for better optimal off-lace control. Handcrafted in the USA by Big Game Football Factory. Every ball comes with a certificate of authenticity. This is not just a football, it's a piece of Michigan history. Perfect for true Michigan fans to display or give as a gift. You can become among the first to own it, just like us. They sent us, each of us, free football. Didn't make it on the carry-on for this trip, but got mine back home. You can snap yours today at biggameusa.com/Wolverines. That is biggameusa.com/Wolverines. Get yourself the official Michigan football game ball. Let's talk about the keys for Michigan to come out with a victory in this game. They're ready for the moment. They've got a really good mentality to them. They understand what's at stake this weekend. Guys like Vlad Golden, Dusty May, a lot of the coaches have been in a spot like this. They won their regional back in 2023 at Florida Atlantic, go to the Final Four, lose to San Diego State. But beyond that, I guess let's start with Auburn's prolific offense, ranking number 3 in the country on KenPom offensively. They shoot it well. They're 5th in the country in lowest turnover rate. They take care of the basketball. A lot of assists on the profile, and they shoot a decent amount of threes. And what stands out when you watch this Auburn team is just the amount of guys that hit tough shots, whether it's the big guys down low. Janai Broom is going to finish likely as the runner-up to Cooper Flagg in the National Player of the Year race. But it's beyond that. It's Tahad Pettiford coming in against Creighton, scoring 23 as a freshman off the bench. He plays the majority of the game, but he comes off the bench. He is a ridiculous shot maker. Miles Kelly's an elite shooter at the shooting guard spot. Denver Jones is an elite defender, but can make some tough shots as well. Then Chad Baker-Mazar is a hothead, but he can, he's a really good wing as well.
He's also
They've
30
got
years
firepower.
old.
What's that?
He's also 30 years old.
And also
Yes.
known as a Holloman.
Yes. Well, yeah,
So,
he is. We got a couple of those in town right now.
Yeah.
But they've got a lot of firepower. It's not they're going to go 7, maybe 8 deep, but all these guys can hit tough shots. Dylan Cardwell down low, the center, not as much, but he'll still probably give you 7, 8 points. But Janai Broom in the post, he can facilitate. A lot to like about this Auburn offense in a lot of challenges for the Michigan defense. They got to stay in front of some tough covers and then also figure out how to protect the rim and understand how to defend Janai Broom and Dylan Cardwell down low.
Yeah, it's tough, guys, and you got to make them make the tough twos, right? And try to stay in front of your defender. And you cannot leave shooters in this game. They did it against Texas A&M a few times and got burned on it. These guys are going to make you pay. So I would rather take my chances with the tough twos and then make sure you get on the glass. These guys, if you give them an extra opportunity on the glass, if they dominate you on the offensive glass, then it's over, right? If they get that many opportunities, they're going to score on you. So one thing I've noticed is they don't turn you over a lot, which is good news for Michigan. And again, Michigan seems to have fixed that. And Dusty May did talk about that today. He said, when we finally had a chance to coach these guys, they were 14 days. They played 9 games or something like that. It was ridiculous. 5 games in 9 days. He said, we had a couple weeks there where we couldn't practice. And he said, and at that point, we didn't really have time to try to work on our mistakes. We were just scrambling, getting ready for the next opponent. So they got to protect the ball. It's the same stuff, fellas, and they're going to have to make some shots, which is not easy against this Auburn team either. So these guys will get after you defensively. It's going to be a chore. At the same time, guys, again, everybody was talking about A&M and their athleticism and how their game played. Was not suited for Michigan and where they excelled. But Michigan has seemed to be beating teams with, again, other people's games, right? And this is why I hold out hope. We just saw Amari Burnett there. I don't know that this is a game for him. I think LJ Cason's going to have to play a significant role in this game against this athletic team as well. So, but it'll be fascinating. The matchup will be fascinating. What's even more fascinating to me, guys, is the crowd and the impact there. If, for example, if Michigan State were to lose to Ole Miss, you're going to have everybody in that building. Ole Miss, Michigan State fans will run to the exits like they did in the Big Ten tournament, but that a lot of that arena is going to be rooting for Michigan too. So the crowd dynamics are going to be fascinating. It's going to be, to me, a good start. Got to get off to a good start. You can't get behind against this team. Take care of the glass and do not turn the ball over. And I think you'll be all right. I think it'll be a game.
Yeah, I mean, aside from that, I mean, this is going to be a I won't even say a home game, but I think a vast majority of the fans are going to be Auburn fans. I think their campus is only about 2 hours or so away from here. So it's going to be revved up. That's the game of the night. That's what a lot of these people are going to drive in for. Some of them, it's close enough they could drive in after work. So this is going to be, a hostile, whatever that chemical mixture is, it's a hostile environment for Michigan. Now, for me, I think the path to this game looks a lot like the way they played against Purdue, where you're not turning over the ball, you're playing with good pace, the passes are crisp, communication is clear. That's what it's going to take. From what I've seen, Auburn, they're kind of in the middle of the pack from a tempo perspective. They don't play super slow, but they're not, they're not, running up and down the floor either. So that's a key. I think that we talked about last week how the guard play is going to be critical. Trey Donaldson in particular, protecting the basketball and things of that nature. This is the bigs. The bigs, Bruce Pearl that said he hadn't seen guys like that since Larry Bird, and what was his running mate? I'm not that old, Chris.
Kevin
he said
McHale?
McHale and Parrish, and then he compared Danny Wolf to Larry Bird.
Yeah.
Yep. There it is. Those guys are going to be huge, especially Wolf, who's going to get the broom assignment, I think, for the majority of this game. So they're going to throw him, the better athlete, at him. Those guys have to play extremely well. And I think there's a path to that. From there, we'll see what happens. You're going to need, again, I see a similarity to the Purdue game in terms of it being all hands on deck. Every guy that touches the floor in that game has a sequence, makes a play, is a net positive. I think that's the type of effort it's going to take, and we know that that's in there. So this isn't a Cinderella story. This isn't a David versus Goliath. This is, hey, can you find a way to play your best basketball against, one of the four best teams in the country? Simple as that to me.
Yeah, and it will be interesting. So Auburn will start with Janai Broom at the 4, Dylan Cardwell at the 5, but then Cardwell only plays half the game. They bring in Chaney Johnson, who's a 6'7" forward at the 4 spot. You move Broom over to the 5. When the two bigs are in, I think you continue to do what you normally do and switch 1 through 4, but that poses some challenges because they're unique like Michigan. Like a lot of teams all year didn't see two bigs that tall when they played Michigan. Same thing goes for Auburn. Talking to Justin Hawkinson of Auburn Live, he said that this is the first time he can remember that Bruce Pearl ever played two centers on the floor together. So it's a clash in that aspect, but do you continue to switch 1 through 4 when you're facing that? Now, a lot of the time, those two aren't together because when Broom comes out, Cardwell's in. When Cardwell's out, then Broom shifts over, but that will be interesting. And then let's flip over to when Michigan's got the ball is one thing that Trey Donaldson struggles against historically, and he's gotten better at it, it seems like, but is the full court pressure. And Auburn knows that, and Auburn brings full court pressure a decent amount. So we're going to see him put in those situations. But Denver Jones, their starting point guard, went up against Trey in practice every day last year. So he understands what that challenge is. Now, this is a team that is not going to double Vlad Golden in the post. And I think Vlad's they got good post defenders, not great. And Vlad's probably going to get 25 points in this game. To me, it's figuring out the puzzle around Vlad Golden in this game. Can Danny Wolf still get to the rim and finish there, which he needs to do better?
Yep.
Is Michigan going to get opportunities to hit open threes? Auburn limits three-point attempts as good as anyone in the country. They limit assist rate as well. They're going to make you play one-on-one. Trey Donaldson's going to have to make some plays. They're not going to help and come off shooters, which leads me to thinking that this is another Roddy Gale type of game. LJ Kaysen can come in, change the game with his ability to get to the rim. That's when you collapse the defense. And talking to Justin Hawkinson again of Auburn Live, he said that the times that Auburn has lost games, first and foremost, it has been the defense that has failed them. You have to score 1.1 points per possession against them, but it's possible. They're 4 and 5 when teams get to that mark. Michigan hasn't gotten there enough this year, but it is possible. And he said the reasons why they've struggled in those games is when people have guys who can drive the basketball into the middle, collapse the defense, and then they can either score at the rim or they collapse the defense to the point that you're in really good position to get offensive rebounds and break them down. Michigan's going to have to live on the offensive glass in this game, in my opinion. They're going to need 15-plus offensive boards, get them extra opportunities. Like in a game like this, you can't turn the ball over and you can't be poor on your own defensive glass because then you're creating a slimmer margin for yourself. You already have a really slim margin when you're playing a team this talented. So you've got to do the things you do well, like offensive rebound, really well. Michigan could be a menace on the offensive glass when they want to be and when the matchup's right. This is one when I think you can do that and have to do that if you're going to play efficient offense against a team that is really good at first shot defense.
Yeah, which is basically what I said previously. And at the same time, got to make the bunnies too, guys. You can't be, what were they, 4 of 12 on layups or something like that, or 4 of 10 in the first half against Texas A&M. You've got to make the most of your opportunities because you aren't going to get the opportunities that you did against Texas A&M against this Auburn team. So I do like the coaching matchup. I know Bruce Pearl, he's got a lot of elite talent. I have seen him get out coached in the past by some really good coaches. And I like Dusty May to have his team ready and to understand where they can get some points. So I think it's very clear at this point, fellas, that Dusty May is a great postseason coach based on what he did at FAU and what he's done so far at Michigan, regardless of what happens on Friday night. So, and that's not an accident. That is a guy that puts everything into his scouting reports on other teams and understanding where he can find some points. So it'll be fascinating. The chess match that you talked about with the substitutions. I think this is a game where you may have to play Vlad Golden a few more minutes than you normally would, which means maybe using some more of your timeouts and maybe getting him some rest because I don't see Will Cheddar keeping up in a game like this, for example. So it's going to be fascinating to me to see. But man, two great games tomorrow night. A lot of Sparties, by the way, in the building today. Spartan reporters there. It was weird. It was weird being in the same room with them and hearing Tom Izzo talking behind us. So, but that atmosphere is going to be crazy. And
We can't
great.
escape these guys.
You can't escape them, but it's a great city and it's a lot of fun down here when we get to see some of those colleagues that we don't see for a long time.
Yeah, and just to kind of wrap on keys to the game and things like that. Obviously, I think foul trouble is going to be huge, especially with the bigs. The auto Will Cheddar comes in, immediately fouls when he has his hands straight up. That can't happen. You need these guys to stay in the fight because, again, I know that Auburn only plays about 8 guys. Michigan's got an 8-man rotation, but they just need the best they can get out of everyone, and that doesn't mean everyone's going to play a perfect game, but it's got to go according to plan, and they've got to start fast and stay out of foul trouble. I think that, to me, it sounds very surface level in terms of analysis, and maybe it is, but I feel like against a 1 seed, when you're trying to pull an upset, you have to be the aggressor while having your guys still out there.
Mm-hmm. And you might need a break yourself. Like in one of the keys for Auburn's probably to keep Cardwell out of foul trouble. Here's a sequence of games for him with fouls because he struggled with that all year long. 4-3-5-0, 4-4-4, 3-3-3, 1-3-2, a little bit better recently. But if you can get your big guys to get going down low, get some fouls on them, just kind of throw them off their game. Like Janai Broom's got to go to the bench for a couple minutes. Dylan Cardwell's got to go to the bench for a couple minutes. Muck it up a little bit and I think you have to feast down low. I don't know how many 3-point opportunities you're going to get. It will be interesting. Did Roddy Gale change the scout on himself after last weekend hitting 4 threes? He might have. And Auburn's going to guard tight on the perimeter and switch everything, just kind of stay on shooters. They won't switch everything, but they'll switch everything outside of the 5-man involved. Did him and Reuben Jones get a little bit of room, and then did they make him pay? I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work out, but it's going to be fascinating. And I agree with you, Chris, that the coaching matchup when you have Dusty May in a tournament setting like this against Bruce Pearl, I'd say advantage Michigan, but a lot of, talent-wise, probably Bruce Pearl's been there for 10 years or whatever it is, so he's got a program built up a little bit more. But at the same time, Michigan's here, and Bruce Pearl said it himself. Michigan is as good as anybody in this field that's remaining. We've seen that. Let's get to our predictions. Who wants to go on this one?
I'll go. I think Michigan's going to play him tough. I think Auburn's going to pull away at the end. Going to be something like, 80-72, maybe. They'll make some free throws down the stretch and just have just a little bit too much in the tank. But I'm happy to be wrong. I don't think I've picked Michigan to win since I picked them to win the last 2 games, but I don't think I picked them in any of the Big Ten tournament games. So, but I do like Auburn in this one.
I don't like picking Auburn in this one, but it's hard. This one's tough because I do think it's going to be a close game, and your gut would say, oh, well, if Michigan keeps it close, they've done this all year. But I think that Auburn, I think that their little slide at the end of the year, I think that was overplayed a little bit. Wasn't crazy about, I watched most of their first 2 games just knowing that this was a possibility, but I think that Michigan's going to be close, but no cigar in this one. I think it's 76-72 Auburn. But man, oh man, I don't want to say I'm picking, but I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen in the first game. I don't know what's going to happen when Michigan plays, but I know they have a hell of a chance to win, and they've got the advantage on the sideline. I'll say that. I have no issue saying that. So they're going to be in it. Can they close? It's the biggest question.
Yeah. I got Auburn 84-78. I think Michigan's just going to kind of play from behind most of the game, and I don't know that they're going to be able to score enough, which is kind of what you have to do against this Auburn team. But, man, I wouldn't be shocked if Michigan's moving on to Sunday either. I think that I guess who you guys have Michigan State coming out of the other game
Toss
or
up.
Ole Miss?
Yeah.
So I think it's a toss up. I think it's going to be Michigan State and Auburn probably, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if Mississippi upset Michigan State too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I something cosmically just kind of feels like this is set up to be another Tom Izzo weekend, and they get back to the Final Four. So that's where I see this heading.
Wow.
Another
one.
been a
The
while.
pressure's on though, because you can't just get there. You got to win one now.
You have to. He has to. Okay. Well, yeah. I think. I don't know. I'm gonna go Ole Miss in that game. I think that there was an interesting stat. Like a 6 seed has only been underdog by 3 points or whatever in the last few years. Several times, and 2 of the wins from the 6 seed in that spot have been by Chris Beard coached teams. So he's done some damage as a 6. In Michigan State, they didn't. Every game's its own entity. They didn't totally impress me last weekend against New Mexico or Bryant, even though they pulled away and won both. But we shall see. It's going to be exciting. Good luck to everybody's team out there, especially the Michigan Wolverines. We're hoping to be here until Monday, covering a game potentially Sunday night. We'll know the game times for those later on Friday, but that's going to be our show.
Can I just say one more thing?
AB, go ahead.
There is a segment of, I think, the Michigan State fan base, maybe the majority of them, I don't know. I didn't do a poll or anything, and maybe some Michigan fans that don't want to see this on Sunday. There's a local radio host said that he'd rather play Satan than play Michigan. I disagree. I think it'd be heavenly, and I'm rooting for it. The question is, do the basketball gods agree that it would be awesome enough to make happen? I want to see it. If Michigan loses, so be it. But I want to see it because it means Michigan's moved on and won a hell of a game over Auburn.
A local Michigan State basketball radio host said that.
A Detroit area host, yeah.
Mike Valeni.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Mike Valeni.
It's gone viral, so
yeah, there's a stunner. So, well, you know what? I think Satan would probably have the advantage there, but regardless, you don't get to play him. So we'll see how it goes, guys. I can't wait. No matter what happens, I'm excited. It'll be like pulling teeth if it's Michigan State, but I'm with AB. It means you got there.
Yeah, advance and survive. That's what you do this time of year.
Advance and survive.
It all comes full circle.
I must break you.
Absolutely. Okay, that's going to be our show. Like the video if you're watching on YouTube and you want the Wolverines to advance to the Elite Eight and even the Final Four. Why not? Hit the like button. Subscribe to our channel. Head to thewolverine.com. We got coverage on site here in Atlanta of Michigan basketball in the NCAA tournament regional semifinal. Use the promo code UM1 over there for 2 months of premium access for just $1. Thank you to Big Game USA, the official Michigan football, for sponsoring the show, and we will see everyone on Monday.